All right, we're going to talk about real estate agents, how to be successful in 2024. I would say looking back at some things I would have done differently is memorize the scripts, right? And we're talking about agents who are going after the listing business. Some people are okay with doing a buyer, being a buyer's agent. No knock on that, actually, it works tremendously. I've had some success with clients, people I knew, actually putting in an offer right now with somebody I know as a buyer, right? So it works, and it's actually easier technically. The only hard part is I would say showing a bunch of properties, the long drives, then also the long hours of drafting a contract. But it's almost guaranteed. If you have a motivated buyer with good credit, and high income, all you got to do is find the right property for them and you'll be fine, right? Give them the proper advice and file it and so on. As far as filing the offer sheet, and just be in their best interest, negotiate, and you're fine. So I wouldn't say that is something negative, but what I'm speaking to are the listing agents, right? Which is a great opportunity to scale your business, a great opportunity to control your time. As a buyer's agent, you're constantly dealing with people's schedules, showing houses multiple times. As a listing agent, you can control your time a little bit more. And most people get into real estate. Some people do for the money, but some people get into it to get a better schedule, right? And I would say being a listing agent may be the way to go. But the way to be successful is you have to memorize your script, because when you do prospect or you speak to clients who are trying to sell their homes, it just helps when you know what you're saying and you just come across more fluent and knowledgeable, right? You don't come across as though you're like reading or unprepared. So memorize your scripts. I think that is something, if I would go back to, is just, and also when you memorize the scripts as you speak, you don't have to think when you talk to somebody, you just know the next thing to say and the next thing to say. So I would say focus on your script, do the work, be consistent. Consistency is something that most real estate agents cannot maintain. I've been guilty of that myself at times. Life happens, problems come up, but just think about this, right? Think about the big Fortune 500 companies. With all the life that happens, with all the problems that come up, if you want to go to, let's say, a Macy's, it's going to be open, right? If you want to go into any store, let's say a Lowe's, a Home Depot, a Walmart, they're going to be open regardless of what problems may be going on in whoever's life that works for that company. So you got to see yourself as that. Regardless of what, I need to be able to show up and do my job. This is a business. So we become agents to get the free time, but now you got the free time and you don't have a boss writing you up for coming into work late or not showing up to work. Are you just going to show up when nobody's looking, nobody's breathing down your neck? So consistency, just show up and do the work. All right. Finally, what I'll say, the biggest tip I'll give to agents is it's going to be hard, it's going to be slow, but offer great service, right? The industry, as we know with the lawsuits, is marred with just unethical people. I wouldn't say unethical people, but people that don't care. I see it sometimes, you deal with agents and it's like they just out to get a check rather than out to serve people, right? Obviously it's a job. You do it so you can get compensated. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but there's something about offering great service, One, you get satisfied, but the biggest part about it is it scales your business. The best referral you can get is word of mouth. When somebody raves about you, it's easy on that next transaction. You don't have to convince this person, So it's going to take a while and it's going to be slower to grow, but inevitably, that's the best way to scale your business, just by great service. When you start getting referrals, you can turn one listing into 3 just by the neighbors seeing how much you put in work and you give it your all. all, because they see other houses and other agents, and then they'll see the work you do, and they say, okay, this person, even if the house sells or not, they'll just keep it in the back of their mind. When it's time to sell my home, I'm going to call this agent, you know? So you can turn one listing into 2, 3, 4, and so on. And also one buyer into 4 buyers, because you sell this house and that person, you know, they get an open house. They'll rave about the service you provided them, the deal you gave them, how you negotiated the price down for them, you know, how you gave them good tips on where to purchase, why not to purchase this house. You were patient with them even if they wanted to see 40 properties, you know, you showed them all 40. You know, it's really time consuming, but just offer great service. And that in turn comes back tremendously, exponentially, because they will always refer you. But let's say it's their first house. When it's time to sell and upgrade to a second house, they're gonna call you. You know, I know somebody personally that somebody I have known for over 10 years. I'm an agent, but when they sell their house, I cannot get that transaction. And I asked him, I said, come on, man, why didn't you give me this transaction? He said, to be honest with you, man, years ago, prior to me knowing you, when I bought my first house, this agent did my transaction. They've kept up with me and my wife over the years. And, you know, we just have that relationship. In the future, if things don't work out, I'll definitely come to you. But I just can't, you know, let her go. She always reaches out, you know, check on the kids, you know, holidays, birthdays, so on and so forth. For years, we just have a bond, and she offered great service. And this is somebody I know, you know. I wouldn't say I know him well, but I've known him for a long period of time. We don't hang out outside of a work environment, but you just say, wow, I've known you for a long time, but you always give this agent your business, and you can just see how far that goes, you know, when, and that is what I'm talking about. And the same it applies to me. I've gotten business and people know other agents, but they rather work with me, you know. I just gave that example because it goes a long way when you offer great service. All right, so happy 2024. I hope you're successful. We're going to delve a little deeper as we go through the podcast, so stay tuned. All right.